So if you ever believed that Joe Biden was competent, the tapes, his conversation with his ghostwriter proved that was never the case. It's uglier than you know. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Let the show begin.
And then next thing I have here is this is classified. It's all it's goes with it.
Now, you might have trouble hearing it. That's because it was a recorded conversation between before he was president, Joe Biden, and a ghostwriter. A book that was being written, Promise Me, Dad, that Joe Biden was writing in preparation for running for president, where he admitted he was sharing classified documents. Admits it. But it's much more than that, because within this conversation is the admission that he quite literally had no idea where he was at any one time. He did not know what was happening at any one time. He was not in his right mind. There's a reason that they ran him for president from the basement. And there is a media that allowed this. And they are going to go full on Jake Tapper. I'm shocked to know that this happened. You're the only ones. Tony Katz Today. A pleasure to be with you. Senator Todd Young scheduled to be with us in just a few minutes. Why can't we pass the dang SAVE Act already? Also, he was there at the funeral of Lindsey Graham. We'll also talk Iran and Iran strategy. But these tapes, I mean, between what we've got on the despicable, disgusting Anthony Fauci, a lowlife of a human being, and what we have now on Joe Biden, I mean, this stuff is stunning.
So this was early on in 2009. I just found all the classified stuff downstairs.
All the classified stuff you found downstairs? Well, fantastic. That makes me feel safe. Hey, how many times was your sniffing son around the classified documents, and did he get any extra scratch for them? You know, give somebody some access, or maybe put something in the mail. Maybe go full Sandy Burger and throw things in the socks. Oh, that's beyond the pale. I can't assume that. Not only do I assume it, I'm 4 seconds away of making the accusation, but I'm not, because there are lawyers. Would I believe it? Oh, you better believe. You better believe that I would believe it. But it goes on and on, where he admits time and again that the information is classified.
Some of this may be classified, so be careful with it. I'm not sure. It's not more classified, but
It might be classified. It's not marked classified. Who knows? Could be, could not be. Jail. When did he go to jail? Why doesn't anybody go to jail? And this was, you know, if this was your father, if this was your uncle, if this was a friend, you would see this almost as a casual kind of thing, talking about something, and then they lost track of where they were.
Speak to, during this period, we're reconstructing the period of February 2015, and there's on the schedule I'm in Munich, but after Angela Merkel, president's working lunch with, hang on a second. It's confusing me.
Couldn't remember where he was in the conversation. Forgot where he was in the conversation. My gosh, that's happened to all of us before, except we know with Biden that this was the whole story, the entirety of the story, and nothing but the story. We know this. We're aware of it. Joe Biden didn't know where he was. Joe Biden didn't have his mind. Joe Biden never could have been president. And these are the same people who want to tell us that he could have done a second term. You understand Jen Psaki's a liar, right? You understand that Ron Klain is a disgusting liar. You understand that Karine Jean-Pierre is the biggest liar who ever lived. They all knew it. They all saw it. This cabal. You don't think the auto pen was running the country? Okay, boo-boo. Okay, we're gonna stop pretending that we can keep inviting those people to dinner. We can't. It's over. Everything that Robert Hur said, I would bring charges against this degenerate, but he's gonna show up and appear like he's like a sweet, forgetful old man. That's all he ever was. That's what age did to him. And hey, it doesn't do it to everybody, but it does do it to many. And I don't want to sit here and say that somehow that part is funny. No part of this, nothing about this is funny. This is completely and totally obscene. And we should call it obscene. What has happened here is despicable and reprehensible. What Joe Biden and his family and his handlers have done, unforgivable. And we should challenge every pardon because none of it was signed by a president in his right mind. We should dismiss them all. The legislation, dismiss it all. That guy, Joe Biden, was never aware that he was president. That's my take. I make that claim clear without any hesitation. He never knew where he was. That's obvious. And the people who ran the lie and abused the nation, and because of all the illegal immigration tried to suicide the nation, they have to be held to account. Someone has to go to jail. Which brings us back to a key question for Republicans. Why the hell can't we pass the SAVE Act? Senator Todd Young, scheduled to be with us in just mere moments. Keep it right here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. So our question is, how come we can't pass the SAVE Act? What is it that Senator Thune has against this? Now, I know you want to jump in, Senator Todd Young, but I'm not ready for you yet. I got to do a whole intro. I got to do this like a professional, sir. Right? This isn't like those other shows you do. This is classy. Right there. And you know it's classy because I use the word classy. Tony Katz Today. An absolute pleasure. Senator Todd Young joins us right now, the senator from Indiana, the senior senator. And I do want to talk about the SAVE Act. But before we begin, it was the funeral today. You had the memorial there for Senator Lindsey Graham passing away at the age of 71. You were there. How was the mood? Mostly somber, or was it a little bit of celebration about a life?
You know, it was somber, but even many of the speeches reflecting on his contribution to public service and his interesting life, they were sprinkled, of course, with some funny episodes, funny interactions that they had with Lindsay over the years, because I think that's what, candidly, most of us remember. They remember the human touch that he had. They remember how witty he was, how he'd oftentimes, interrupt what was otherwise a serious situation, even though he was a serious public servant, and provide some levity to the situation. He just had a great sense of humor. So there was a lot of that. And he actually cared about people. He was a sincere person, and that's the kind of thing you would hope people would reflect on, rather than the bills you got passed or all the rest. Though he could certainly claim a lot of accomplishments along those lines. So it was really meaningful, and I'm sure it meant a lot to the family to have so many of us there.
Was caught a part of it earlier today. Spent some time with the Newsmax people and watched some of it as the procession came and paid their respects, talking to Senator Todd Young of Indiana. But as we move on to where the legislation is now, votes are going to have to get cast. You've got the president of the United States saying to the Senate, absolutely positively no recess. What is everybody talking about? Pass the SAVE Act. Let's get some voter ID. Let's get some voter protection, or at the very least, end the filibuster and be done with this. Sir, why can't we pass the SAVE Act?
Well, this place can be maddening. It can be frustrating, especially on a priority that I care a lot about. And this is one of them, the SAVE Act. I know my constituents are wondering, hey, God, didn't we 2 decades ago in Indiana establish a voter ID law, and since then we've expanded it to include coverage of proof of citizenship, and it's worked. It's worked. Hoosiers know it works. They can't understand why we're not applying this to every state in the country, and they're not wrong. So what does the process look like up here? Well, the House has acted. The House has passed it. The Senate has voted a couple of times, and we're always falling just a few votes short. Along the way, Democrats, without exception in the United States Senate, there are no Democrats who vote yes for the SAVE Act. So my view is that in a state like Indiana in particular, this is bad news, because the issue is so commonsensical. This is bad news for the Democratic Party. But we will continue to try this week, in fact, and I think the president is rightly focused on this as well, to see if we can pass either what the House has passed over to us, which I think is probably the most direct, expeditious, and appropriate way to get the SAVE Act passed, or come up with some other strategy. But I think the obvious strategy is just to take up what the House passed last week here in the Senate and see if we can get that passed through a so-called reconciliation process. That's a simple majority process in the Senate.
And with that, we know that there are some Republicans opposed to the SAVE Act. I believe Lisa Murkowski is on that list. I believe that Tom Tillis is still on that list. What is the opposition to voter ID? Because every time I hear the conversation, sir, and I don't mean to jump in with trying to answer a question when you ask a question, that is rude. There seems to be this idea that the voter ID provisions within the SAVE Act are somehow more onerous or egregious than any other voter ID provisions. Can you respond to that? Is there a real argument to be made that the SAVE Act is simply too much of a burden on women in America?
I have not heard that variant of the argument. I'm always open to more information, but I'm often skeptical of arguments. I'm highly skeptical of that one. I will say that some of my colleagues had concerns about the absentee ballot application of earlier versions of the SAVE Act. That is, this would prevent absentee ballots from being sent in. I know many of my constituents have concerns about the integrity of absentee ballots. In Indiana, here again, we've done a very good job of monitoring our elections, but in some states, more Republican ballots, far more, are actually cast through absentee ballots than Democrats. So for those inclined to look at this through a partisan lens, that may be a concern that they've harbored, but I can't speak for any colleagues that still harbor reservations, and I've never gotten complete clarity, candidly, as to what their substantive objections are to the SAVE Act, which is why I continue to support it and support it strongly, because I haven't heard any good arguments against the SAVE Act.
Talking to Senator Todd Young of Indiana in support of the SAVE Act. The president saying don't take a recess. The president saying get rid of the filibuster. Hit them in the 1-2. Should the Senate, should John Thune call a recess? And should there be a move to end the filibuster?
Well, the recess conversation is a fresh one. We haven't discussed canceling recess in this context. We've canceled recesses before since I've been in public service, and I'll stay here all the time. I mean, we are charged with a job. It's a very important job. I think most Hoosiers sometimes have to work overtime to get the job done. I don't mind doing that. I do think it's reasonable that we have a strategy if we decide to work overtime. No one wants their boss to ask them to serve overtime and then feel like you're getting nothing done when you're on the job. So I think the best strategy from my standpoint right now is to take what the House passed and pass it through, again, this process called reconciliation, which involves a simple majority, and therefore we could conceivably pass it with just Republican votes. You would have to get the votes of a couple of Republicans who still harbor some objections. And even better, you'd have to get some Democratic votes. And that really is where I like to train my fire, because categorically, if you're a Democrat, you're opposed to showing a photo ID, you're opposed to proof of citizenship. I think the vast majority of Americans would say, yes, I need to show my picture to get a library book. And they wonder why it is someone not from this country, not a citizen, can cast a vote in this country. So let's continue to make that argument and make the Democrats squirm across common sense states like the state of Indiana.
And you've got the people, it's an 80-20 issue in terms of voter ID, but it's harder to make them squirm when you've got Republicans who aren't down for it. Talking to Senator Todd Young of Indiana, well, I've still got some time with you. Let's move into something you have been nonstop about, which is stock trading by members of Congress. There's the Stop Insider Trading Act. You are a co-sponsor. It was introduced by Senator Pete Ricketts, I believe. Where are we in this, and how close are you to success to ending what has, to the outsider, allowed Nancy Pelosi to get stupid rich?
We are making some important progress. In fact, the House recently passed the Stop Insider Trading Act. This is something, as you alluded to, that I've been fighting for quite some time. I will continue to fight for this. There's been resistance every step of the way, but we were able to get this thing through the U.S. House because we made the argument and we're winning the argument. Over 85% of Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike support preventing members of Congress and their closest family members from purchasing individual stocks, because they know that members of Congress are exposed to all kinds of insider information on a regular basis. We are sent here to serve the public, not to manage our investment portfolios. And as you've indicated, people like Nancy Pelosi outperform some of our world's finest investors, people like Bill Ackman, on a daily basis. And it's hard for me to believe that they have that much investment expertise. So let's get this done. Let's earn back a measure of trust from the American people, get our own house in order, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So in addition to the SAVE Act, which I'm a strong supporter of, I hope constituents and others will add this to their priority list, this commonsensical measure, Stop Insider Trading Act. We should get that done before recess as well.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Senator Todd Young, right there. Can't thank you enough for being here, for being a part of the show right there. We will get into more conversations in the very, very near future. Senator Todd Young, I need the SAVE Act passed. 10,000%. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. It's got to be handled. What in the world are we waiting for? And I want to know what pressure we can put on everybody to get this done. The more pressure, the better. This is Tony Katz Today. Yeah, sorry about that. That was twice. I clearly have some issue I don't quite understand, because nobody else has the StreamYard issue with bringing only the audio. If I'm bringing in separate audio and it shows and everything else, and everything gets cattywampus. I don't know what that is. Don't understand what it is. And I had to disconnect by actually closing a window. There's a way, and I don't know the way, but I usually bring people in by adding them to the live stream, just like they would be doing video, and that's no problem. That works beautifully. It's the audio that is a problem right there. Yeah, and then my audio went silent, so I apologize for that. Nice big gap. People are like, what happened? All good, and I appreciate you guys tremendously for hanging out and being a part of it. What in the world is going on? You know, I'll give you a weird thing that's happening. First of all, Chris, I'll tell you, the technology is grand. It's just sometimes you don't know how to work it perfectly. It's like some people saying in the chat they have trouble finding the show. And so I've seen this myself, because if you go and you search for Tony Katz, if you do that, sometimes you'll get my morning show, but you don't get me. And I do not know how or why that is. And I don't know what I can do about it. It becomes very, very frustrating. Very, very much so. But there's a weird thing that is also happening. Like, there are times where I get frustrated by numbers and movement, right? You want to be able to get large scale audience, all these kinds of things. I get more emails than ever. I get more comments than ever. I have more people reaching out about brand things than ever. It's really interesting. So I think that sometimes we're just getting ripped apart on why I'm like, am I getting shadow banned? What's actually going on? And then I see other things where it's like, well, we're clearly making progress. Very, very, very strange. Yeah. So like if you were to search Tony Katz Today, it'll come up. But if you search Tony Katz, you get my morning station, which is WIBC. See, I go to Tony Katz and boom, there it is. It's more. Actually, no, wait. There's the channel, but the live stream is not up. See, that's all from WIBC. But it says me. Why am I not the top news? And why isn't the live appearing on YouTube? I don't think I have this problem with the Rumble folk. It's very weird. But if I go to Tony Katz, there it is. There it is right there. And then you've got both versions of it. Super weird. Very, very, very strange stuff. And if anybody knows how to make that work better, you're hired. I would hire producer Landon to do it, but that's just not going to happen. So you've got Trump meeting with Zelensky. You have got Trump meeting with Netanyahu. Tony Katz today. An absolute pleasure, guys, to be here and to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com, TonyKatz, TonyKatz.com. It's just that easy to find. This right here was Fox News talking about both of those guys.
In minutes, we are expecting to see Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has the first meeting with President Trump, followed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at 11. It's not often you get two world leaders visiting the President of the United States here at the White House, absent a summit or peace accords, Dana. And earlier, President Trump paid homage to the late Senator Lindsey Graham, the reason both those world leaders are visiting Washington today.
So they're in town for the funeral of Lindsey Graham. And President Trump was on Fox and Friends earlier today speaking about Lindsey Graham.
Able to bring people together. If I needed a Democrat, he could usually produce that Democrat if I had to have him in an emergency. He was a great politician and a great gentleman. Now,
on the subject of Zelensky and on the subject of Netanyahu, it is fascinating for many to take a look at how President Trump is now viewing Zelensky. It is frustrating, of course, to leftists and the ridiculous Tucker Carlson set that the president still talks to Netanyahu. And the president is not always thrilled with Netanyahu. He said to him the other day, you may not want me to sell F-35s to Turkey, but I'll sell F-35s to whomever I want to sell F-35 strike fighters to anytime I want to. You're in charge of nothing, which I think is a fine answer from the president. And now I don't want to sell F-35s to Turkey. They bought the Russian defense system, which doesn't work, by the way, which was billed at the time as the F-35 killer. And they were part of the manufacture of the F-35 strike fighter while they purchased this Russian defense system. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. Turkey should not get the F-35. Don't trust them at all. I don't trust Erdogan in the slightest. Not for a moment. But Trump gets to decide who he sells to. He's not going to worry about whether or not the Israelis like it or don't like it. And it's not just the Israelis. The Greeks have already said, don't sell them the F-35. Greece has the F-35 strike fighter. They just got it not too long ago, I believe. And the last thing they want is Turkey being once again this historical pain in the you-know-what and possibly being a larger scale problem with this technology. The Saudis have the F-35. They just have a different version than the Israelis have. Maybe a different version than the Greeks have. So I appreciate the concept, but the president gets to decide, and that's the way it goes. But what has really happened here? What has been the change here? And hopefully, if they sit in the Oval and have any level of public conversation, I'll be able to bring that to you guys. What has changed? For a lot of people, this is shocking. this is not as shocking for us because we've had these conversations. We've had them with Steve Yates of Heritage. We've had them, I believe, with Noah Rothman of National Review. We've had them with Major Mike Lyons, our military analyst. Ukraine has been able to do something that wasn't expected. They've been able to learn. If we take a look at Ukraine that has been dealing with this Russia insanity for years now, and I will say to all the people who said it didn't matter, it wasn't our problem, Ukraine's terrible, we shouldn't pay attention, it was always a ridiculous proposition, 10,000%. A rational mind who believes in America first doesn't let Russia run over Ukraine to then be on the doorstep of NATO nations where we absolutely have to get involved militarily. You are going to put troops out there. You're going to put troops on the ground. Don't the Tucker Carlson set know this? It's embarrassing how little they fully understand about foreign policy. You are pot committed. You mean we talk NATO? We talk NATO. Well, you have to pay 2.5% of GDP. Now you got to pay 5% of GDP. You got to pay for your own defense. You can't be buying Russian natural gas. What's wrong with you? We've been pushing and pushing and pushing. And then because we aren't willing to thwart the Russian threat where it is, it becomes a threat on the doorstep of NATO. And we say, nah, never mind. You think that's coming? You don't think that's a problem? I think that's a pretty massive problem. Of course you deal with it now. I never said you had to put a boot on the ground, nor did I ever say there should be a no-fly zone. As a matter of fact, I opposed the no-fly zone from the beginning. Because the no-fly zone meant that if you now have Russian MiGs in the air and you have to have U.S. fighter pilots engaging with MiGs, you've just been drawn into a war. But provide you bullets and weapons? Hell yes. When Zelensky, who was never meant for this part of the world stage, he didn't run when Ukraine got invaded. He stayed. And it was seen as very respectable. And certainly by the Ukrainian people. And he approached everything in the following way. Why aren't you helping us take out these Russians? What's wrong with you? Right here. Put it right here. Why do we have to ask? You know this is a problem. Why don't you do something about it? The approach was always wrong. And then you watch the Israeli approach. The Israeli approach has always been, we will handle this because Western civilization and all our futures depend on it. We will be the tip of the spear. We do not ask you to do the work that we won't do. We will do all the work. We only ask for a little bit of help in these areas. Sell us this, help us out with that, and Iron Dome this. And we will be the tip of the spear in the fight for Western civilization because our causes are intertwined. Israel's approach has always been, we will do this for you. And one could argue that that is true. Ukraine's approach was, why won't you help us do this? And they came across as ungrateful. Even Joe Biden, with all of his mental confusion, would discuss the fact that you're just too hard to work with sometimes. You come across as outrageously ungrateful. I wonder whether or not the Oval Office dust-up showed him that, made him rethink everything and then some. And remember, on the Oval Office dust-up, Trump handled everything perfectly. It's J.D. Vance who did not handle it perfectly. And it's where I started engaging this concept that in the end, J.D. Vance, the vice president, is outrageously bright. He's not ready for prime time when it comes to the world stage and when it comes to foreign policy. He's not. I don't care that he's the vice president. He's not. Tony, you're just a radio host. You know better? Absolutely, I do 1,000%. That's my take, and I go about proving it every single day. Yes, I think I have a better grip on what needs to be done in the realpolitik of the situation than the desires that the vice president has. I felt this way about Kamala Harris. I feel this way about J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance is a wicked bright cat. But maybe it was that dust-up that made Zelensky rethink how you engage the approach. But what it really was the fact that Ukraine wasn't just saying, give, help, provide. They said, here, look what we can do. and they started developing drone technology that quite simply has been fascinating. They have been able to send drones 600 miles into Russia and blow up this. They've been able to hit tankers and oil facilities in the seas. It has been remarkable what the Ukrainians have been able to do. Under some very brutal conditions and under constant attack by the air, they have been able to develop drone technology that is simply flabbergasting. We took notice. And when I say we, I mean Donald Trump. Trump took notice and said, well, that's pretty impressive. They're actually doing something for themselves. Look at that technology. That works. Well, if they're not just going to be takers, they're actually going to do something. And we could use that something, because if they've got that something, we could then buy that something or work out some other kind of deal. And then we could use that. We've got $4 million a Patriot. Isn't it better? We're spending $82,000, whatever it is, a drone. That's a way better ROI. Let's use that. Let's do that. Hey, Vladimir, how are the kids? And that's what led to some of the deals. And the deals about drones and the creation of drones and the building of drones and the deal about allowing Patriot systems to be built in Ukraine. We knew this from the beginning because we've always been very honest about the conversation. We knew immediately that that was a security guarantee. Remember how Ukraine was constantly asking for security guarantees and wanted security guarantees? Basically, they wanted American troops on the ground. Well, that wasn't the case. You're just demanding things. You haven't provided a value proposition worth a good holy damn. And then we heard about the deal for rare earths. And what we said is, well, if there's a deal for rare earths and you're going to have U.S. companies in Ukraine for rare earths, well, then that's security guarantees. It's right there. It's easy to understand. But the rare earths thing never got off the ground. I mean, maybe it is happening in places, just it hasn't been talked about. Certainly haven't seen any recent reporting on it. Okay. All right, it was a talk, it was an idea, but that didn't come to fruition. Maybe it'll come to fruition later. But the minute you heard that we're going to allow Patriots to be built and utilized in country, that was it. We're going to start building drones with them, security guarantees. It had to be the thing Vladimir Putin hated to hear the most. The most. Other than you're no Yeltsin. I'm trying to think what would be like the worst comparison. You're no Brezhnev or you're no Yeltsin. I'm going to go with Yeltsin. I'm going to go with Boris Yeltsin right there. Because now you've got Americans in country protecting what is theirs. Russians are never going to advance another inch if Americans are there. Never going to advance another inch. And then you started seeing how Vladimir Zelensky over the last year has discussed what they're willing to do and putting themselves on the line to stop this Russian threat. And this is important for the globe, and we have to stop them where they are, and this is our job to do. Zelensky not only showed a value, but learned from Netanyahu how to engage the larger community, starting with the United States. So what do I think of this meeting today? I look forward to being able to bring some of it to you if they share it. But the dynamic has changed. And Vladimir Putin and his supporters, like, is Tucker a supporter? No, just of the supermarkets. Got it. They come out on the losing end. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today.
Before I knew Lindsey.
Welcome back, everybody. Good to be with you. Tony Katz today. Now, let me go to a comment here that came from Facebook. Dave, first of all, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. Dave, you are wrong, and I would like to be able to prove my point. Your argument is it should not pass me in the SAVE Act, since it would subvert the rights of states to run their own elections. Republicans need to pass it because they know they will lose without it. It's another way to rig the elections. You do realize that the Heritage Foundation found less than 100 instances of election fraud since 2000 out of millions of votes. It's completely unnecessary. The SAVE Act only exists because Trump refuses to believe he lost in 2020. Well, Trump may very well believe or refuse to believe anything about 2020. That's fine. But if you're okay with any level of fraud, I have to look at you askew. Why would you be okay with any level of fraud? Why would anybody be opposed to a voter ID to ensure that only citizens vote? No, it does not subvert the right of the states to run their own elections. What it does, it subverts the American people by allowing for opportunities for fraud and states not doing what they must to ensure that only citizens vote. One of the great and most egregious things that took place during the 2020 election, Texas sued about this, where Pennsylvania changed the rules. The courts changed the rules, not allowing the legislature to determine the elections, but rather the courts determined what was and wasn't an okay vote when the votes came in. Texas sued for this. They said, how dare you disenfranchise Texas voters? And the Supreme Court refused to hear the case. Now, some people say, see, that's because there's no merit to it. Oh, no. By not hearing the case, we never got to have an understanding of what actually took place. It was Clarence Thomas and Justice Alito saying, if we don't hear things like this about an election, what the hell are we here for? Pennsylvania engaged in subversion. I never once would have accepted the votes out of Pennsylvania. I never would have certified those votes at all. I would have sent those back. Nope. You don't get a say in this election because you usurp the legislative branch. That is the manipulation. You're right. The states can prescribe the manner of the election, but having a voter ID, a congressional law where representatives of the state vote, of all the states vote, yeah, that's not usurpation. That's the standard. We have an election day. It's a standard. Any fraud is bad. Why you would allow fraud is beyond me. Let's get back to the show. Thank you for being here, Dave.
Before I knew Lindsey, one of the most enduring parts of his legacy is I do believe that Justice Kavanaugh would not be on the Supreme Court were it not for his fierce advocacy during a critical moment. Remember that Senate confirmation hearing where Lindsey, and by the way, he got criticism from the Republican side of the aisle for this. He would always vote for qualified Democrat judicial nominations. He came to the judicial nomination process in a spirit of bipartisanship. Again, he was criticized sometimes from our side of the aisle for that, But what he saw happening to Kavanaugh was not a policy disagreement. It was character assassination. And Lindsey got as fiery and as passionate as I have ever seen a human being get during a judicial confirmation. And I believe that he saved that nomination.
It was some of Lindsey Graham's best work. Tony Katz today. The funeral for Lindsey Graham today. They had the memorial service there at the Capitol. That's where the Vice President, J.D. Vance, spoke. There will be a funeral later today. At the National Cathedral, President Trump will be in attendance, along with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and a host of others. And yes, if you go and you look, you'll see plenty of people who hated Lindsey Graham, thought he was terrible, warmonger, this, that, the other, and that's just Marjorie Taylor Greene. If you are concerned about what people are going to say about you when you pass, I don't think you're doing it right. I make no concerns about what they are going to say about me at the time of my passing. My wife, my kids, at that, I'm full stop. That's it. Listen, I love you. I love doing this show. I love that we're growing. I love that we're building. But in the end, and I think everybody can appreciate this, there comes a moment where you gotta be like, oh, the things that matter most, my wife, those kids. After that, I'm done. So let them say what they're going to say. It's inconsequential. Sure, you can talk about legacy, and sure, you can talk about how people are going to try and paint you for history and who writes the history and all that. You know, it's Hamilton. Who tells your story? There'll be plenty of people who get outrageously angry. But I only hope that for the family of Lindsey Graham, that they are focused on what they think and not what somebody on a social media account with 9 followers thinks. Those people don't count. Don't ever forget that. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. All right. So here's where we are, guys. We are in commercial break for the radio show. So we are in break right here. Good. So what we're going to do is take the break. Everybody just be cool. Be cool, honey bunny. We will get back to the show in a little bit. Got a lot more to get to. Got 3 more things. And if Trump does speak to Netanyahu or Zelensky, which is possible, I don't know if it's going to happen. I will bring that to you. I'll bring it all to you immediately, if not sooner. So hang loose, kick back, relax, and we will be right back in a little bit. Good stuff, everybody. Good stuff. Welcome back. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. I did some of the Fauci stuff yesterday, but I don't think we're done by any stretch. This disgusting, despicable lowlife of a human being. Lowlife. I can also apply that to Mamdani. Oh, there's still plenty on him to discuss. Let me make sure I've got this all together. There we go. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you guys for being here. I don't see how we're going to avoid Fauci stuff. I just don't. Absolute low life of a human being. Dow is up over 600. So now we know what we already knew. There is no bigger lowlife than Anthony Fauci. And that's saying something. Because we got some real terrible people out there. But who else let Grandpa die alone? Tony Katz. Tony Katz today, an absolute pleasure. Somebody had posted a photo. If I can find it, I'll share it. Where it was, here it is. Here, I had never seen this before. This was in a window from a hospital, and it's hospital workers dressed up in the gear, right? The protective gear. And they've got the mask on, then they've got the shield on, and then they're draped, and then they're in gloves. And on the window, they have two signs, and it says, "He is at peace, and we are so sorry." So the family couldn't be there at the end for grandpa or dad or mom or whoever it was. They couldn't be there. You couldn't be there for your loved one. And so this is how they relayed messages. I had never seen that before. For that alone, there is nothing you could do to Anthony Fauci that I would think is too much. He deserves every part of the hate. Tony Katz today. An absolute pleasure. I think I already said hello. Sometimes I forget. The people who deserve an equal abundance of disgust are those in the media who acted like nothing was wrong. We should really look at the total lack of journalism. The lack of journalism during COVID, the lack of journalism during Biden. Exactly how much bad journalism, non-journalism is going to take place until we realize that none of these people can be trusted. On CNN yesterday, one of the participants there on Abby Phillips' show brought up Anthony Fauci. And Abby Phillip and the two Democrats on the panel like, "Oh, we're not talking about, oh my gosh, oh, how dare you." They moved right by it. Nope, we're not talking about that. Well, we are. Because CNN and MSNBC are freaking guilty. Now, they're not guilty of saying, here's what the experts are saying, the same people that Trump had up on the stage. They're not guilty of that. They're guilty of not saying, hey, the data is not comporting with some of these other stories. So to take a walk back in time, I'll take it from my point of view. I was doing the show from my home, right? I had gone to CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference in D.C. Trump is president. Mike Pence is vice president. One person, we had gotten back, one person had COVID, and my station said people didn't know anything. There was a lot of concern, a lot of fear. Remember the moment in time. Try not to get too angry about it. And they said, hey, why don't you do the show from home this week? Now, that was in I don't know if that was February or March of 2020. All I know is I never went back to the station. I've been doing the show from home ever since. And for me, greatest thing in the world. Oh, a pleasure. A pleasure. Because when I work from home, everybody knows if I'm working or not. Right? It's binary. I'm either talking or I'm not. And yes, I'm wearing pants. I always wear pants. I don't understand these people who do radio or TV and they don't wear pants and they don't get. I don't understand how. Don't ask me about the tubing. I can't figure that one out at all. One person had COVID and everybody lost their minds for a little bit. And certainly when there was the conversation, you'll remember well, of 15 days to stop the spread, it was really in our conversations, I remember them clearly, 15 days to flatten the curve. The conversation had been about, we are overwhelming the hospitals. They can't keep up. And there was a serious issue. So how could we flatten the curve, this rise in the amount of cases in COVID? Could everybody just rein it in for 2 weeks? Now, I don't believe that government ever has the right to keep you in your home. We're searching for somebody in the neighborhood. You have to stay indoors. I could go anywhere I want. Screw you. You know those people in Minnesota, law enforcement, you were standing on your porch and they said, it's COVID, you have to be inside. And they were like, I don't have to be inside. So they shot like beanbags and other things at these citizens. Every one of those cops should be in jail today. To hell with all of them. But first they had sold the story. They explained to America what they were trying to do. I could accept the idea that we could all engage this together and all help out together. Well, of course, that didn't do anything. Okay, I can accept the fact that you tried something that didn't work. People didn't know what we were dealing with. The problem is we saw data happening while we were told something else. I can remember about 2 months in, I turned to my program director for my morning station. Yes, that was Tim Walz's Minnesota. That's correct. That shot at people saying, you have to get in your house. I went to my program director. I went to my executive producer. And I said, these are the numbers that they keep telling me. They keep pushing these numbers. The numbers of infected, the number of dead, number infected, number of dead. These numbers are not accurate. This was about 2 months. 2 months in. And you started realizing that they were putting everything, every death, everywhere to COVID. You remember this. You lived through this. A lot of people, they never once said they're applying it, they're attributing it to COVID, but they're not answering the question about other things. Did they already have some other issue that COVID exacerbated? When we talk about George Floyd, it was not the knee on the neck that killed George Floyd, although I don't approve of the knee on the neck. I don't approve of any of the tactics that the police took that day. George Floyd died because George Floyd was a drug user and George Floyd killed himself. A lot of these people had an underlying health condition or a prominent health condition, and COVID put them over. So we take a look at these numbers. It's not COVID killing people. It's what they already had, and COVID speeding it along, adding to it. It was just the wrong way to approach the numbers. And it was easy to see, at least from our view, that people were engaging in the fear-mongering. And for me, on a personal level, the thing that became so disgusting was that here is something that we all are dealing with. We can all fix. We can get through this together. And people decided, let's make it political. I said, this is the greatest scumbaggery in the world. This is just gross and obscene. Then there were those of us who said, listen, I don't care how quickly you put together a vaccine. I'm not taking that. And that's when we started hearing the real blatant lies. We heard them because we shared everything. If there was ever a moment that really delineated conservative radio and conservative talk and conservative thought from the progressives on TV and cable news, it was that we knew that even if you took the vaccine, you could still spread COVID. And these people who said that if you didn't get vaccinated, you were going to kill their grandmother were liars. We saw it clearly, we saw it easily, and we said we're going to have no part of this. And they tried to attack us and rip us apart for it. And then, of course, the thing that was as egregious as anything else out there. People went to church, and cities and municipalities went to those churches and wrote down license plate numbers of those who went to church. Any cop who wrote down a license plate number should be thrown off the force. Lose your pension. Don't want to hear your story. Don't give a damn. Oh, I was just doing my job. You could do the job somewhere else because you have no capacity to be a part of the public trust. Zero, kitten. We early saw the lies. And what we saw was this conversation isn't matching up with these numbers. And then we saw how people who wanted to have a conversation were not allowed to have a conversation. And we knew no matter where we were on vaccines or this or that or the other, we knew the minute you saw people not able to have a conversation, we knew that there were those people trying to stifle conversation, trying to prevent conversation to keep you, me, and we from having data. That's when it all blew up. That's when we realized that the people telling us to trust the science, believe in the science, rely on the science, they were lying because they didn't have the science. And everything that has been released by Senator Rand Paul. You know who should be Time Magazine's Man of the Year? Senator Rand Paul, for putting his teeth directly into Anthony Fauci and never letting go. A mask won't help you. Oh, no, wait. A mask is exactly what you need. Oh, this came from a wet market. Well, no, it probably didn't come from a wet market. When they knew back in January of 2020, it didn't come from a wet market. And Tom Elliott over there at Grabian, which is a source I use for a lot of audio, he put together this doozy of Fauci and the press.
But they're really criticizing science because I represent science.
If you're vaccinated, you really don't need to worry about getting it in a way that's serious or transmitting it.
That is true. That is correct, Chris. It'll either protect you completely against infection, and the chances are very likely that you'll not be able to transmit it to other people. The risk is extremely low of transmitting it to anybody else. Full stop. Vaccinated people are clearly capable of transmitting the infection. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better. If people are not wearing masks, then maybe we should be mandating it. I often myself wear 2 masks.
And I'm quoting you.
That was Fauci over a timeline. No mask to absolutely wear a mask to where I wear 2 masks. All the while, by the way, loving how much TV he was on, loving being in the spotlight, writing about how other people were upset that he was getting so much attention. And while he was quite literally whoring himself out because he wanted to be popular and loved, Grandma died alone.
Now, at the population level, masks work at the margins maybe 10%. To hear that they only work at the margins, maybe 10% would make a lot of people ask, okay, then why was I wearing a mask?
You're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science when you say that this is going to go away tomorrow like magic, when you know that there's no chance it's going to just disappear.
We hope this just goes away, burns itself out.
So my question is, why weren't you straight with the American people about this to begin with?
So the bottom line is, it's a guesstimate. I gave a range.
It seemed in that quote to suggest that you were basing your recommendation on polling and what people could accept. Is that not what you meant?
No, I mean, it's a bit of that.
We're seeing all of these.
And then, of course, on the closing of schools, he made the claim that he never suggested closing schools, but we have his diary entries where he spoke to Bill de Blasio, the New York mayor, about closing schools, and Bill de Blasio said, I'll follow your recommendations, and he recommended to the chief of staff of Governor Gavin Newsom, California, that they close the schools. We saw the lies, and now we know that they were lies because we have the information. Yet media never questioned a damn thing. CNN and MSNBC, now MS Now, and the New York Times and the Washington Post and all the rest, oh, they couldn't question. Twitter wouldn't let you question. Remember, that's why we have Elon Musk owning Twitter, now X, because Twitter wouldn't let you talk. The media, like the science, demands our fealty. But they don't do any work. They're not journalists. You know who the journalists were? You and I, because we were noticing that the figures that were being put out was not matching reality told on the ground. We saw that there was a disconnect, and we asked, what is this all about? And people wanted to talk about the disconnect, and they were told they couldn't. And that's when we knew that this was a fix, that this was a con. Not the idea of COVID, not the idea that people didn't die from COVID, not the idea that there weren't complications, but that this whole we should lock down society was a fraud. Well, Anthony Fauci led the fraud. And the media, they followed. They didn't journalism. They didn't ask questions. They didn't look anywhere. They just said whatever we have to say. And then they had dinner with the fraudsters. You cannot hate the media enough. And if you want to punish them, you only do it in two ways. Stop watching and stop buying from their sponsors, and you do it now. Sorry, CNN sponsors, you're not good enough. Can't have you. You can't support this stuff anymore. Can't support the MS Now sponsor. No. These are the only two ways to handle this. It's the only way they're going to learn. Keep it here. It's Tony Katz today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and do all the things. And Patrick, where's my Corvette? Patrick said he was looking at a Corvette for me. So I haven't seen it yet. I know he said he was looking. He said he had one. I'm like, all right. But I haven't seen it yet. So I just don't know. I just don't know how long I have to wait. Just seems wrong. All right. Ilhan Omar, you fraudster. Oh, we'll do this. We'll save Ilhan. No, we'll do Ilhan. I don't know. When do we talk about her? Do we have to? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So a newly uncovered Biden White House memo showed that they wanted to expand temporary protected status to another 3 million non-citizens. Right? TPS, temporary protected status. You've got some disaster, some political disaster in your country. You can get protection here and stay here for a while. Me, I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. And Haitians got this. And we noticed this going to visit Springfield, Ohio. Remember, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. That was not happening according to the people, but they were eating the geese, and they could not drive. And it created a massive housing issue. Lots of things did happen. And what we saw was the amount of people who were so thrilled with the Haitian population because they're working in the factories and this and that, and the factory owners love them. And we asked, we've got the video to prove it. Is this some kind of jobs program that we're now creating here? Is that what this is? I didn't know we were going to be right. We had no idea. It was myself and Fingers Malloy, who does Eat, Drink, Smoke with me. And we checked it out. I was like, this whole love affair, right? Because it really were very few people who were like angry. They're more angry at the city and the state and the feds for not helping them prepare for all of this. They weren't necessarily mad at these people. But every time you talked about the factories, oh, the factory workers love them. Oh, the factory owners love them. Oh, it's so great for the factories. Is this a jobs program? We would ask, and people would be like, oh, I don't know. But Fingers and I were like, that's exactly what it looks like. We didn't know we were right. Temporary protected status was a jobs program. And the Biden administration, to the very end, remember, it wasn't Joe Biden. Biden wasn't running the country. They wanted to use TPS as a way of bringing more people legally into the country to do more damage to Donald Trump, anything to hurt him. They didn't care if they hurt the country as long as they hurt Trump. They did not care. They never cared. That's them. That's today's left. What they say is not what they do, and not what they do is not what they're actually talking about. Trust. Whew. That's a tough one right there. We've got 3 more things coming up. Keep it here. It's Tony Katz today. I have no problem sending the Haitians our geese. The ducks can stay. The moral of the story is not your hatred of the Canadian geeses. Is that the dogs and the cats thing wasn't happening, although it could have happened, it wasn't happening. And really, I mean, the most fascinating thing about being in Springfield, and we do want to go back, was that these people really weren't angry at Haitians at all. And they resented being called racist. They were angry about that. that they were called bigots and all these things. Like, we didn't do anything wrong. And that's correct. It was the city, the state, the feds who dropped all these people in their lap with no way of handling it. The city simply couldn't handle the new population. Hospitals couldn't handle it. Language barriers, trash pickup, the housing situation. Couldn't handle it. And I don't know if they're handling it well right now either. I have absolutely no idea. All right, let me get to that there and that there, and let me get to this right here. And we've got that. So they're all gearing up for the funeral. But I don't know how that's going to run. I don't know that timing of that. I don't know who's going to speak when and at what time. So I don't think I'm going to cover the funeral in that way. No, I think I'll keep on tap what I have on tap. There we go. And then a silly question, but sometimes silly questions are worthwhile. And Jennifer, I got your email. Thank you. So Jennifer was saying that yeah, she has a hard time finding the show. But I don't know how to make this happen. Like, I scheduled the live stream today. Did that make it easier to find? I scheduled it like an hour before it started. Does that make it easier? Or do I have to schedule it every day? Like, do I have to schedule tomorrow's now? Is that what I do? I have a different heading for the show every day, but I don't know if the show is called the same thing every single day. Like, is there something in there? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Like, if I go and look, yeah, like I went to my own. It doesn't even show my live stream happening. How? How is that remotely possible? Here's my channel. And so there, now those are up there. It actually showed 2 live streams. You know, it's something different every day. It's something different every day, but I can start scheduling it. Wait, the first part of it needs to get called to say, so it has to be Tony Katz today and then the show? Oh, I can do that. I can do that, Jennifer. 3 more things. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. TonyKatz. That's how you spell my name, in case you were curious. TonyKatz.com. What are 3 more things? Well, these are things that should be front page news, but because of all the news on the front page, it doesn't make the front page. Of course, we have the funeral today going on at the National Cathedral of the late Senator Lindsey Graham. His body lied in state. Laid in state? Was in state? Was his body, the memorial service there happening at the Capitol. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, speaking. The Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, speaking. Lots of senators appearing. Certainly not all. Not all. Lindsey Graham was a guy who was not loved by all. Very few people are loved by all. It's okay. Right? Not all of us are Betty White. And I'm sure she had some detractor out there. Somewhere out there, Betty White dies at the age of 99. The great shows, the Golden Girls love, the love of pets and caring for pets, becoming this America's grandma sweetheart, which is something we love and adore. And somewhere out there was a woman chain smoking Pall Malls, sitting in her trailer, watching the TV going, that bitch, I'm glad she's dead. Somewhere that happened. And then she took a drag and went, oh, that's the good stuff. You cannot please everybody. Please remember that all the rest of your days. Lindsey Graham is going to have his detractors. Fine. Not the people who matter. I said that earlier. I say it now. Some of the headlines was first that the CEO of Cracker Barrel is stepping down. This goes back to the whole rebrand thing. Remember when they tried to rebrand Cracker Barrel and everyone was like, nope. No. You leave our rocking chairs alone and you leave our Chinese checkers alone, and there better be a lot of gravy on them biscuits. I'm talking about a stupid amount of diabetes-inducing gravy. Better take 7 years off my life, otherwise you have to go. And Cracker Barrel apologized. They apologized. And they did interviews and they tried to turn it around. And what was interesting was that Cracker Barrel was actually picking up. The sales end was picking up. The stock price had gone down. It got hurt. But after this, things had started to get better. They still got rid of Julie Masino. She is the CEO. They're bringing on a new person. She made $6 million a year. Her annual compensation, $6.4 million, including a base salary of $1 million plus stock awards. And she's going to get a $4.6 million payout over a 2-year period. As long as she remains terminated without cause, she's going to get the $4.6 million. You mean I can screw with a great American brand? I can still get $2.3 million a year for 2 years? That's 4.6. Where do I sign? Where do I? Happy to do it. You want to see me mess up a logo? You give me 20 minutes in AI. I'll give you a logo. $4.6 million. Add another $1 million. That's my payout from radio. Like it's not my payout from, that's a pity, really. Because that would be just fine. I think it's amazing. I think the whole freak out was amazing because I remember the logo and then I remember the new logo and I said, okay, whatever. How in the world was I affected by their logo? I never understood the anger or the angst. Now, what I was told was, Tony, you don't understand how woke they're going. You don't understand what's going on inside the store. I said, is there still a rocking chair? Can I still play Chinese checkers? What am I missing? But clearly there was something. And then, it's a solid question. Did they not learn from Budweiser? Now, Budweiser, really Bud Light, has battled back to at least do the ads properly. And they've got Peyton Manning doing the ads and Shane Gillis doing the ads. Right? These guys are like, beer company wants to pay me. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to take their money. If Bud Light came to me and said, we'd like for you to do an ad, I would say, have you fired all the ridiculous people who thought they should put this caricature of a prepubescent girl on their cans? And if they said, well, yes, we did, I'd be like, great. Where do I sign? Hey, this is Tony Katz for Bud Light. Bud Light. Good. Wait, I can't say good. That's from another ad campaign. Okay, I'll do it differently. Bud Light. Just do it. No, can't say just do it. Okay, so can't say good. And can't say just do it. Okay. That's all right. I got it. No problem. I'm trying to think. What else could I say now? What else could I say? What else could I could I bring in there? Bud Light. I'm loving it. Seriously? No? This is harder than I thought. For sure. I'll figure it out later. I can do this. I know I can do this. 100%. I haven't gotten that offer yet, but she is out the door. Then there is the story of Ilhan Omar. And is her sister linked to this Minnesota fraud? We are still in the midst of this. The millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that has been stolen from the American people. Stolen through the fraud and Medicare, Medicaid, autism centers, all of it, hospice, all across the country, all 50 states. You know it and I know it. But the story of this scandal, this one with this group Feeding Our Future, described as the largest public theft in Minnesota history. And right now there is a probe into Ilhan Omar's involvement in the scandal. Public records stating that it's Omar's sister that may be part of the operation. Her name is Sahra Noor, Sahra Noor, Noor, running several businesses in the region, including the People's Center clinics and services in the Somali neighborhood of Minneapolis, which got a $2 million earmark while her sister was a state representative. Well, there you go. She was a state rep, was Ilhan Omar. Sister got $2 million, and everyone was like, keep voting for her. What, you don't care about the fraud when it's somebody else's money. So now she went on to found a group called Grit Partners Consulting. And they state that they have secured more than $20 million in funding for health initiatives and consulted on projects backed by federal health agencies such as USAID and the Center for Disease Control. They can tell me that USAID costs lives all they want. And I put forth to you that USAID was a slush fund and we should never have put a dime to it. And we are all better off. All better off. That everything said about look at the lives lost. Look at the people who got abused. The American citizens who got abused. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was a slush fund. It was used to prop up those who were fellow travelers on the taxpayer dime. I'm thrilled that it's gone. I want Doge to come back and I want more cuts. Did we get rid of AmFAR? Of course not. Do we still support a whole bunch of causes? You bet we do. Did it have to come to USAID? Absolutely not. And I'll say it again for the people in the cheap seats. I do not know if correlation is causation. But the idea that we don't fund USAID, we haven't seen any riots recently, that's just amazing. I love that conspiracy theory. It is awesome, I tell you. Awesome. Fantastic. I have no idea if there's any correlation whatsoever. I just love that people talk about it. Oh, as for Ilhan Omar's sister, I don't know what's true here or not. I would immediately be investigating for sure. But considering I'm one of the people who absolutely believes that Ilhan Omar married her brother to allow him to stay in the country, absolutely. I believe that this is possible, if not probable, innocent until proven guilty, and let's go investigate. And then, according to a story, 2025 study published at the Journal of the American Dental Association, 73% of adults report some level of dental fear. They're afraid of seeing the dentist. Producer Landon, are you afraid of seeing the dentist? You don't like going, but you're not afraid. Okay. I will tell you a true story. First, not afraid. Second of all, don't care about going. When I am getting a cleaning, Tanya, how are you? When I that is my hygienist. I fall asleep. If I'm getting a haircut, I absolutely fall asleep. It is relaxing. If teeth cleaning of the toothies, I fall asleep in the chair while they are in my mouth cleaning. Have you ever done that, Landon? Yeah. I'm just out like a light. Gone. And people look at me like, how in the world do you do that? I'm like, turns out very easily. Very, very, very easily. Just, there's something. I don't fall asleep in the middle of the afternoon, right? Someone asked if I need a CPAP. I have a CPAP. Oh, I'll tell you that story another time. But yeah, it's just so relaxing. It's just, I'm at ease and I don't know what's going on. Just bloop, gone. But are people still afraid of going to the dentist? They've got all the good drugs. They've got all. Why would you be afraid of going? It doesn't make any sense to me. I not wanting to go, not enjoying it is different than fear. And I wonder if that's how they really meant it. 73%. That seems like a high number. But it's a greater number that is getting their information stolen online. Because there's a file with your name on it. It's got everything. It's got all your home information. It's got all your contact information. It's got your medical conditions. It has your kids' names. It has your kids' names. And this whole concept, what's going on here is with the data brokers. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And what they're able to do is amass all this information on you. And then they're able to accept a credit card and sell your information. Your file is collected and it's packaged and it's sold and it's all legal, which is insane. Every scam, every phishing text, you know those texts where people like saying things are like, how do they know that about me? How do they know that about my family? Yeah, someone paid for your file. This costs American taxpayers $20 billion plus each and every year because the scammers, not lucky. They're getting prepared. You can do something about this. You can protect yourself. Do what I did. Use Incogni, INCOGNI, Incogni.com. They are the ones who go broker by broker and they force each one to delete your file. You know those opt-out forms that they bury and you can never find them? Incogni finds those. And when your data tries to creep back, boom, there's Incogni to wipe it again. Go to Incogni.com/cats. That's the website. INCOGNI, Incogni.com/cats right now for 60% off. That's Incogni.com/cats. Get your 60% off with promo code cats. Take your private life off the market. Incogni.com. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today, and there is. Come on. So this is the view inside the National Cathedral.
Close to Trump. One of the things he said to me was,
that is the guard outside that will bring on the left, bring in the remains of
for 5.5 years in Vietnam. Well,
Lindsey Graham, and on the right you have the cabinet that is already seated. You have
so all of a sudden,
up front, and Hegseth and Rubio behind, and from there there's Doug Burgum and a host of others. Justice Kavanaugh is on the end there behind him. John Ratcliffe, and behind him, the Prime Minister of Israel.
Let's pause
Benjamin
and watch
Netanyahu.
this transfer.
The members of the military aligned, taking the casket of the late Senator Lindsey Graham into the National Cathedral, which, if you've never been, is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful building. Tony Katz today. This the funeral for the senator. You have a who's who of Washington that is inside. The full cabinet is there. Justice Brett Kavanaugh is in attendance behind him. The CIA director earlier, I thought it was the DNI. The CIA director, John Ratcliffe, behind him is the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. All there in attendance for the funeral of Lindsey Graham. A fair amount of pomp and circumstance for the senator here. No, it is not what every senator will receive on their death. And I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody saying, I like this or I didn't like that. I say it. It's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. But the funeral will take place, and, well, back to work, everyone's going to have to go. And the president moving forward on saying we not only have to pass the SAVE Act, but we shouldn't even be taking the recess. I favor this on every level. No recess. Do the work. That's what's necessary. And the SAVE Act must be passed. A lot more show to get to. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. This is Tony Katz today. Yeah, I turned off the volume from the actual TV itself. They will continue to work one stair at a time. Somebody dropped something off someone's uniform. Something actually fell. No, they're not stopping. They're not going to stop and say, okay, who dropped this? That's not going to happen. So here's what we've got, guys. The show continues at WIBC.com. So you definitely want to check that out right there. I will start taking your advice, and I'll put Tony Katz today, or I'll put Tony Katz, and then I'll do the name of that new show, and I'll start scheduling them early. Do I have to schedule them the day before, or can I schedule them that morning? Which one? Which one do I do? You tell me, and I'll get that done. More than happy to get that handled. If that's what it takes and make sure everybody can find things, I am happy to do it. Happy to do it. No, he did not lie in state, but he was there and they came to honor him throughout the morning there at the Capitol. The President of the United States walking in, being shown to his seat. The Vice President there, standing up. along with the members of the cabinet. Pretty soon, you'll see everybody take to their feet as the casket of Lindsey Graham is brought into the hall. Eric Trump, Laura Trump, Steve Witkoff right there. Mike Pence in the back there. To an extent, a little surprised to see it. There's Susie Wiles there on the right. Anybody else see that? Mike Pence in the back. Not that I'm surprised to see him at the funeral. I could absolutely understand that. I'm surprised to see him in this part of the delegation. I don't know. Maybe there's a protocol to these things. Former vice president. Who knows? Who knows? This is going to continue, guys. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate being part of the show. I will try some of these things, and we'll get some more stuff going on, and we'll schedule things. We'll get things going. Looking forward to doing that, and hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it'll work. I appreciate you guys being here. I am back tomorrow at noon. I hope you'll join me then. Can't thank you enough. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Take care.